As we walk through the kettlebell swing, you'll see that it's such a dynamic, explosive movement, and it incorporates so many different muscle groups that you could get a great workout with just the swing itself.
Let's go!
One of the first movements that you have to learn with the kettlebell is the kettlebell swing. It's one of the most iconic kettlebell movements, probably the most, and it all starts with the hips. It's a powerful hinge with a powerful hip extension. It's almost as if you were jumping. If somebody told you to go out and do a max vert jump, what you're gonna do is you're gonna step up into an athletic stance, your hips are gonna come back, and they're gonna explode forward and leave the floor. I'll show you from the side. So hips come back, and you're up, just like that. That movement is not much different from the kettlebell swing. You have it out in front of you. You're gripping it, and you just need to know the proper way to grip it. So that's where I definitely have you start, with that swing. When it was invented in Russia, I don't know, a million years ago, it was basically invented to work that hinge and that powerful hip extension. And when you think about it, and as we walk through the kettlebell swing, you'll see that it's such a dynamic, explosive movement, and it incorporates so many different muscle groups that you could get a great workout with just the swing itself. Oh, absolutely. So I'll show you. So as you swing, right, you have the bell. You're going to have the bell for it, but I'm going to show you this movement. I'm going to go through it one more time. This hinge position. So when we're hinging over, we're engaging our hamstrings, our glutes, our lower back, and as we come back up and bring your hips through, that engages your core at the top. You finish with the bell up here, so your delts are engaged, your lats are engaged as you pull down on the bell to keep that tension. It's a full body dynamic movement, and I'll go through a couple swings for you. But I'm gonna walk you through the proper kettlebell form here. So when you're using a kettlebell, I first want to go through the two-hand swing. When you're using a kettlebell, you're going to start with an athletic position. You can point your toes out a little bit, maybe a 45-degree angle, maybe a little bit less, but point the toes out slightly just to give some room as you come down. You're going to have that bell about 1.5 feet in front of you. You're going to take your hands. This might seem silly, but think about if you're going to karate chop somebody. Take your hands like this, you bring them to your hips just to work that hinge. Take your hands, find that hinge right about the waist. Now, by hinging forward, you are getting a slight bend in the knees, but you see your knees are not tracking too far forward. You want your hips back first. That creates more of a vertical shin. It engages your hamstrings and glutes more. So from this hinge position, we bring it back. Now we reach for the bell, okay? I'm a little far from the bell here, so you'll find your right distance. We hinge, we reach for the bell. Now, as we put our hands on the bell, we're gonna start to engage our lats. We're gonna almost think about pulling the bell towards you, almost breaking this bell in half. We tilt it forward, and now, in this position, our lats are engaged. Our hamstrings have tension. Our glutes have tension. We look up, proud chest, come back, and we're gonna hike it back and explode up. So that's the kettlebell move. That's the proper setup position. But before we go into that swing, I'm gonna get you familiar with that hike back. So let's go through the top, stand up straight, hinge at the hips, hips back, reach for the bell, tilt it towards you. Once we have this position and we're squeezing the bell, getting our lats tight, we're gonna hike this bell back and set it back. Now this hike, you'll see a lot of people, they're too low with the bell. They might be hiking it back below the knees. That's not right. That will put too much stress on your lower back. Once we have this ready start position, we wanna hike it above the knees. You wanna hike it above the knees, almost hit yourself in the butt, Just putting it right down. This is what we're working on right now, the hike. So we hike it back above the knees, tight to your butt, and put it back. So that's the hike. We're gonna go through this again, just to get it in your mind. Every time I want you to karate chop, hinge at the hips, reach for the bell. Once you have your hands on bell, start creating that tension through the lats and hamstrings. Tilt it towards you, hike back. Now from here, once that bell is hiked back, we're gonna explode our hips through a powerful movement, hike back, explode up, come down, park the bell. Let's do that a couple more times. We're gonna break it up. These you can call them dead start swings, pause swings. It just helps you learn that form. So let's hike it back, swing up, and park it. Let's do it a couple more times. Hike it back, swing up, and park it. Nice. Stand up, shake it out. This movement's gonna get you out of breath a little bit. When you explode like that through the hips, that powerful dynamic movement, it's working so much musculature that it's just gonna get your blood flowing. It's gonna get the heart rate up. So now that we have proper hinge, the proper starting position, the right tension in the proper tension in the right places, now we're gonna put that swing together, okay? So take these hands, hinge at the hips, reach for the bell, tilt it back towards you, hike back, hit yourself in the butt, and come up. Just like that. Now, at the top of this position, your core is tight, your glutes are squeezed out. It's almost like, for a split second, it's like a standing plank. At the top, my lats are tight, my glutes are squeezed out, my core is engaged. Park that bell, rest for a second. From this side position, you'll see where the bell ends up. I'm in a standing plank. My glutes are squeezed out, my core is engaged, my lats are down, the shoulders packed, and that's the proper position to be at the top. Once you're at the top of that swing, a lot of people, they hold a little bit too much tension at the top of the swing, but really, you should be able to relax for a split second at the top, let that bell float, and then return it, find that hinge position, and explode right back up. So what I mean by that float is, think of it like, just for a second, you're done with the work, just for a split second, then you return to that hinge, that starting point for the swing. So let's go through it. Swing a little bit. If you can see, at the top of the swing, the bell almost floats up a little bit. Now this bell is light for me. It's a little easier to float at the top. You see as it almost floats up at the end there, that's showing that you have control at the top and you're relaxing for a split second before you return. Nice, hiking back and return to the starting position. So that, in a nutshell, is the kettlebell swing.
I love that you said in a nutshell after the world's most perfect 7 minutes. What do you say?